But after making 27 films together throughout 43 years, yeah, Steven Spielberg and Harrison Ford created film magic together. From Raiders of the Lost Ark to E.T., they seemed unstoppable. However, behind the scenes, a typhoon was brewing. It started out with innovative differences, escalated with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and led to entire silence these days. We uncover why Spielberg never forgave 4, and the shocking reason they have not spoken since Steven Spielberg became born on December 18th, 1946 in Cincinnati, Ohio, right into a Jewish family with deep Ukrainian roots. His father Arnold was an electrical engineer working on early computers, even as his mom Leah turned into a concert pianist who later became an eating place owner. Both of them got here from households of Jewish immigrants who had fled Ukraine, carrying memories of survival that would at some point form Spielberg's films. His childhood changed into something, however, regular. Due to his father's work, the Owen family moved constantly, from Cincinnati to New Jersey, after which to Arizona. Every move meant beginning over, and being one of the simplest Jewish kids in mostly non-Jewish neighborhoods made matters even harder. He felt embarrassed through his circle of relatives' Orthodox traditions, and school wasn't any easier. Bullies made positive of that. They called him names, threw pennies at him, and even wrote insults on his locker. Some classmates could sneeze how Jew once they walked past him. It was merciless. He hated status out at one point. He even began telling human beings his ultimate name become German as opposed to Jewish, just to keep away from being focused. He carried that disgrace for years until he grew older and realized it was something to be happy with via all of this. There was one issue that made him experience a live movie making. It commenced whilst he was 12. He borrowed his father's 8mm digital camera and made a short Western film called The Remaining Gunfight to earn a Boy Scout Images badge. It became alleged to be a small challenge, however. Something about it clicked. He cherished it. He was hooked through 13. He had made Breakout to Nowhere, a 40-minute war movie inspired by means of the World War II stories. His father instructed him. He did not have fancy equipment, so got creative. The usage of flour-crammed boards to faux explosions. The film ended up prevailing first area in a statewide competition. It changed into his first flavor of recognition at 17. He went even bigger. He directed his first feature-length film, Firelight, a sci-fi story about alien encounters. The finances changed into a trifling $500, but he made it work. The use of clever tricks like superimposing sparkling spaceships onto the movie through layer in the course of exposures. It became tough. However, the ideas had been there. Subject matters of thriller surprise and damaged families. The form of memories he would later ideal in films like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He premiered Hearthmild at a local theater, selling tickets for a greenback each. At the cease of the night, after selling 500 tickets, he counted the profits, a complete income of $1. It wasn't an awful lot, however. To Spielberg, it turned into proof, evidence that human beings might show up to observe something he had created. Steven Spielberg's adventure into Hollywood started with a short film, referred to as Amblin, a 26-minute dialogue, free film he made in 1968. It wasn't simply any scholar movie. It turned into the key that unlocked the doors of Hollywood for him with a tiny finances of $155. Along with a $155,000, Spielberg created a easy yet deeply symbolic story about a younger man and female hitchhiking via the Mojave Desert throughout the hippie technology. The movie's quiet, intimate moments slowly display a deeper message, even as the person looks like a U-fastened spirit at first. The contents of his guitar case, objects like a Tide deodorant and toothpaste, display he's no longer as carefree as he pretends to be. This diffuse commentary on identity and societal expectancies struck a chord for 23 with audiences and critics. What makes Amblin even extra fascinating is how Spielberg pulled it off. He became Simplest 21 while he directed it and chose to shoot on 35mm movie A. Ambitious and high-priced desire for a person simply starting out the movie relied completely on visual storytelling, the usage of expressive cinematography and of dialogue to create an emotional enjoy. This showed Spielberg's herbal skills for telling tales. Through the Digicam by myself, the impact of Amblin changed into instant Sidney Sheinberg. A top executive at Universal Television noticed the movie and became so impressed that he provided Spielberg a 7-year directing agreement. At just 22, Spielberg became the youngest filmmaker to signal this type of address. A primary studio, the name Amblin, stuck with him years later. He used it for his manufacturing company Amblin Amusement, which might move on to create classics like E.T. and Back to the Future. After Touchdown, his Universal contract, Spielberg sharpened his skills through directing TV episodes, certainly one of his earliest primary gigs, become directing Columbo's first episode, Murder by the E-Book in 1971 at just 24. He gave the detective collection an unforgettable Hitchcock fashion treatment. The use of innovative Digicam angles and suspenseful pacing, the episode became one of the maximum famous in the collection and proved that Spielberg had a talent for turning television into something cinematic. But Spielberg B's real step forward got here later that 12 months with Duel, a made-for-TV movie that have become a sensation based totally on a brief story with the aid of Richard Maddoul, is set a director win after years of making hits. This turned into the instant he became sooner or later recognized as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. By way of the cease of the decade, he again to battle with Saving Private Ryan. 1998, the whole Day series was so sensible that real war veterans had flashbacks, even as looking at Spielberg used handheld cameras, drained the coloration, and threw away conventional Hollywood heroics. The movie accompanied Captain John Miller and his squad as they searched for Private James Ryan, the ultimate surviving brother of a fallen family. Inspired by way of the actual lifestyles Nyland brothers, Spielberg made certain the entirety changed into accurate, and for that actors went through brutal boot camp schooling, and historians had been consulted at each level. The film was a monster hit, making $482 million. International on the Oscars, Spielberg gained. Nice director once more, Steven Spielberg. Kicked off the 2000s through diving into technological know-how. Fiction but no longer just flashy futuristic action. He went deep into human emotion, AI, synthetic intelligence. 200. W wasn't at first his concept. Stanley Kubrick had planned it for years. However, concept technology wasn't equipped in 1995, he exceeded it, to Spielberg, and after Kubrick's death in 1999, Spielberg made it his very own. The movie observed David an android programmed to like, and wondered what it simply meant to be human, blending Kubrick's darkish, imaginative, and prescient together with his own emotional storytelling. Spielberg created a movie that left audiences divided. It made $236 million worldwide, got 2 Oscar nominations, and, over the years, have become recognized as certainly one of his most ambitious projects. Then got here Minority Report 2002, based on Philip K. Dick's Nala. It wasn't simply another sci-fi flick, it tackled the idea of free will versus destiny in a future where crimes are stopped earlier than they happen. Tom Cruise's man or woman, John Anderton, reveals himself accused of a murder he hasn't committed yet. Spielberg failed to simply make an interesting chase film. He brought in scientists to lay out a believable future. The movie made $358 million globally, proving that Spielberg may want to turn idea-scary sci-fi into a blockbuster, but he wasn't pretty much futuristic worlds. He could hit hard with real history too. Munich, 2005, tackled Israel's secret undertaking to assassinate those chargeable for the 1972 Olympic massacre. In place of glorifying revenge, Spielberg focused on its toll on people, on morality, at the countless cycle of violence. The film stirred controversy, however, earned 5 Oscar nominations. Still, it wasn't a field office hit, making simple as $131 million worldwide. Years later, Lincoln 2012 took audiences directly into the 1,000. 860s, where Abraham Lincoln fought to stop slavery. 25/7. Instead of a sweeping biography, Spielberg zoomed in on Lincoln's political battles to pass the 13th Amendment. Daniel D. Lewis converted into Lincoln so perfectly that he received an Oscar. The movie itself got 12 nominations and revamped $275 million, proving that a sluggish, speak-heavy drama ought to nevertheless captivate audiences he wasn't accomplished with history, Bridge of Spies, 2015, brought Cold War tensions to life, specializing in an uncovered lawyer, James B. Donovan, who ended up negotiating a undercover agent trade between the United States and the Soviet 2545 Union. Written partly via the Coen brothers, the movie turned into sharp, subtle, and extreme. It earned 6 Oscar nominations, and Mark Rylance received Exceptional Helping Actor for his role as a Soviet undercover agent. Then, in 2017, Spielberg turned his interest to journalism with The Put-Up starring Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks. The film dived into the Pentagon Paper scandal. It wasn't pretty much history. It changed into approximately power, corruption, and press freedom. Spielberg rushed it into production in 9 months to ensure it got here out at a politically applicable second. It was nominated for Excellent Image and made $79 million, proving he nevertheless knew how to hit a nerve. Then, just whilst it regarded like he might stick to serious drama, Spielberg returned into the world of spectacle. Ready Player 1, 2, 0, 1. 8 become a love letter to pop culture, gaming, and adventure. Set in a dystopian future where human beings get away into digital truth, the film become packed with references from The Shining to Back to the Future. Some critics' idea, it become all flash and no substance. However, audiences loved it. It made $67 million global and driven visual consequences to the subsequent stage. Then got here something non-pull. The FAAN's 2022 becomes Spielberg telling his own tale, his childhood, his love for movie making, and his family's struggles. It wasn't a blockbuster making, simplest $45.6 million, making simplest $45.6 million, but it hit deep. The film won the People's Choice Award on the Toronto International Film Festival and were given 7 Oscar nominations. Together with first-rate photograph, it turned into Spielberg at his maximum, uncooked and private, proving that even after many years in Hollywood, he still had memories to inform. Steven Spielberg's non-public lifestyles has been formed by marriage as a huge circle of relatives and a sturdy dedication to giving. Again, his first marriage to actress Amy Irving in 1000. 985 didn't. Closing lengthy, they had a son Max, but divorced in 1989. And Spielberg needed to pay a huge $100 million agreement, certainly one of the most important on the time. A few years later, he met actress Kate Capshaw at the same time as making Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. They got married in 1991, and their courting has lasted for over 30 years. Their circle of relatives is huge. Capshaw had 2 kids from preceding relationships, Jessica and Theo, whom Spielberg later followed. Then they had 4 extra youngsters together, Sasha Sawyer, Michaela, who changed into adopted Industry before everything. Spielberg wasn't sure about being a dad. However, after making E.T., he changed his thoughts. He as soon as said that directing and parenting felt the identical. Each were about guiding and shaping something larger than yourself, irrespective of how busy he were. Given family usually came first, his spouse Kate even left appearing to attention on their domestic, calling their marriage a partnership. Spielberg treated the digital camera and tail while she dealt with a circle of relatives after Schindler's List. Spielberg felt a duty to do more than just make films, approximately history. He desired to maintain it. In 1994, he created the USC Shoah Foundation to document testimonies from Holocaust survivors. At first, it focused only on people who had lived through the Holocaust. However, it later improved to encompass survivors of genocides in Rwanda, Armenia, and Cambodia. The Muse has recorded over 5,6,000 survivor testimonies in 44 languages from 65 countries. Spielberg believes these tales are proof of what hate can do, and he needs them to be a warning to future generations. The inspiration additionally works to fight anti-Semitism and racism nowadays, but that wasn't the only way he gave back. He used his income from Schindler's List to start the Righteous Humans Foundation, which has donated over $100 million to Jewish culture and social justice causes. He additionally created the Wunderkinder Foundation, funding projects in training, health, sea care, the arts, and catastrophe remedy. He gave $30 million to assist struggling film industry workers. Get Fitness Care donated heavily to Hurricane Katrina victims, and co-founded the Starlight Children's Foundation to carry pleasure to unwell youngsters whilst Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022. Spielberg and his spouse donated $1 million for humanitarian aid.